The great ship was called Titanic. It was a name that meant strength and size. The White Star Line built this ship. They wanted it to be the best ship in the world. Many people were excited about the Titanic. It was a symbol of new times and new technology. Hopes were very high for this amazing vessel. Everyone believed it would be a great success. It promised a new age of luxury travel across the ocean. Titanic was the biggest ship ever built at that time. It was like a floating city, grand and proud. People said it was so safe it could not sink. They called it unsinkable. This belief was very strong. The ship was a marvel of engineering. It represented the confidence of the Edwardian era. People saw it as proof of human power over nature. This great ship was a product of big dreams. The maiden voyage was a very special event. People from all over the world wanted to be on it. Inside, the Titanic was like a grand hotel. It had beautiful rooms and wide staircases. The grand staircase was famous for its wooden carvings and glass dome. There were cafes, restaurants and lounges. Passengers could enjoy a swimming pool and a gymnasium. Even the third-class areas were better than on many other ships. The builders wanted everyone to feel comfortable and impressed. It was designed to be the peak of ocean liner luxury. There were 3 classes of passengers on the Titanic. First-class passengers had large, beautiful cabins. They had their own private decks and fine dining rooms. Second-class passengers also had comfortable rooms and good food. Their areas were still very fine. Third-class passengers were mostly immigrants. Their cabins were simpler, but clean and decent. They had their own dining areas and spaces to gather. The ship was a small world with different lives side by side. The Titanic began its journey on April 10th, 1912. It sailed from Southampton, England. Crowds gathered to watch it leave. It was a big celebration. The ship then stopped in Cherbourg, France. More passengers boarded there. The date was April 14th, 1912. It was a Sunday. As night fell, the air grew very cold. The sea was unusually calm, like a sheet of glass. There was no moon to light the way. This made it harder to see things in the distance. The Titanic sailed smoothly through the dark, cold waters. Many passengers were asleep in their cabins. Others were enjoying the evening in the ship's lounges. The ship was making good speed. Throughout that Sunday, the Titanic received several ice warnings. These messages came from other ships in the North Atlantic. They reported large icebergs and fields of ice. Some warnings clearly stated the location of the ice. These messages were sent by wireless radio. The wireless operators on the Titanic were busy. They had to send passengers personal messages too. This was a news service and very popular. The operators worked for the Marconi Company, not directly for the ship. Not all the ice warnings reached Captain Smith or the officers on the bridge. Some messages were delivered, but perhaps their full danger was not understood. It was 11:40 p.m. The lookouts, Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee, were high in the crow's nest. Suddenly, Fleet saw a dark shape ahead. It was an iceberg. He rang the warning bell 3 times. He telephoned the bridge. "Iceberg right ahead!" he shouted. First Officer Murdoch was on duty. He ordered the ship to be turned hard to port. He also ordered the engines to be put in reverse. These actions were taken very quickly. The huge ship began to turn, but it was too big and moving too fast. It could not avoid the iceberg completely. The iceberg scraped along the ship's starboard or right side. The impact was not a loud crash for everyone. Some passengers felt a slight bump or a shudder. Others, who were asleep, felt nothing at all. Many did not realize anything serious had happened. They thought perhaps a small piece of machinery had broken. There was no immediate alarm or panic on the upper decks. Below the waterline, the damage was severe. The iceberg had punched holes and made gashes in the ship's hull. Water began to pour into the ship's front compartments. Thomas Andrews, the ship's designer, was on board. He went with Captain Smith to inspect the damage. They quickly saw how bad it was. Captain Smith ordered the crew to prepare the lifeboats. He gave the command to uncover them and swing them out. The officers were told to start loading women and children into the boats. This was the traditional rule of the sea women and children first. However, there was a big problem. The Titanic did not have enough lifeboats for everyone on board. There were lifeboats for only about 1,178 people, but there were over 2,200 people on the ship. This shortage would have terrible consequences. Many passengers did not believe the ship was really sinking. The Titanic seemed so large and safe. The lights were still on. The band was playing music. Some people refused to get into the small lifeboats. They thought it was safer to stay on the big ship. There was confusion and a lack of clear instructions. Some officers were stricter about women and children only than others. This led to some lifeboats leaving half empty. Precious space was wasted. As the ship began to tilt more, panic started to grow. It became clear that the Titanic was indeed sinking. The crew worked to launch the lifeboats in difficult conditions. Some boats were launched successfully. Margaret Brown was a first-class passenger. She was later known as the unsinkable Molly Brown. She helped others get into lifeboat number 6. Once in the lifeboat, she urged the crewman in charge to row back. She wanted to look for more survivors in the water. She argued with him and even threatened to throw him overboard. Her strong spirit helped to keep morale up in the lifeboat. She showed great courage and determination. Her story became a legend. Many third-class passengers faced great difficulties. Their cabins were in the lower parts of the ship. These areas flooded first. It was harder for them to reach the boat deck. Gates and barriers sometimes blocked their way. Language was also a problem for many immigrants. They could not understand the instructions given in English. Whole families from third class were lost. Their stories are some of the saddest from the Titanic. They had hoped for a new life, but found tragedy instead. The wireless operators, Jack Phillips and Harold Bride, worked tirelessly. They sent out the distress call, CQD, and then SOS. This was one of the first times SOS was used by a British ship. At 2:20 a.m. on April 15, 1912, the Titanic disappeared beneath the waves. The great ship broke in two before its final plunge. For those in the lifeboats, it was a terrible sight. They heard the loud noises as the ship sank. Then they heard the cries of hundreds of people in the freezing water. It was a sound that survivors would never forget. The water was only 28 degrees Fahrenheit or -2 degrees Celsius. Few could survive long in such cold. The people in the lifeboats faced a long, cold wait. Some boats were dangerously overcrowded, others had too few people. Only one lifeboat, lifeboat number 14, commanded by Officer Lowe, went back to pick up more survivors. They managed to save a few. Most lifeboats stayed away. They were afraid of being swamped by desperate people. The cries from the water gradually faded as people succumbed to the cold. It was a night of unimaginable horror and loss. The Cunard Line ship, RMS Carpathia, was racing to help. It had received the Titanic's distress calls. Captain Arthur Rostron pushed his ship through dangerous ice fields. The Carpathia arrived at the scene around 4 a.m. They saw the green flares from the lifeboats. After the disaster, official inquiries were held. The United States Senate held one. The British Board of Trade held another. These inquiries wanted to find out what went wrong. They interviewed survivors, crew members, and experts. They asked many questions about the ship, its journey, and the sinking. Why did the Titanic hit an iceberg? Why were so many lives lost? Who was responsible for the tragedy? These were important questions that needed answers. The inquiries found several reasons for the disaster. The ship was traveling too fast in an area known to have ice. The lookouts did not have binoculars. Not enough attention was paid to the ice warnings received. The number of lifeboats was not enough for everyone on board. The lifeboat drills had not been adequate. The inquiries also criticized some of the actions taken during the evacuation. These findings highlighted many failures in safety procedures. The Titanic disaster led to major changes in maritime safety. One of the most important outcomes was the first International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea, or SOLAS. The story of the Titanic has fascinated people for over a century. It has been told in many books, songs, poems, and films. Each generation rediscovers the tragedy. The tale of the grand ship and its doomed voyage captures the imagination. It speaks of human ambition, luxury, and disaster. The personal stories of the passengers and crew continue to move us. The event became a powerful myth, a legend of the sea. The Titanic became a symbol of many things. It symbolized the end of an era of great confidence and optimism. The early 20th century believed in progress and technology. The sinking of this unsinkable ship shattered that belief. It was a harsh reminder of human vulnerability. It showed that nature could still overcome human creations. The disaster served as a cautionary tale about pride and overconfidence. It highlighted the dangers of ignoring warnings. For many years, the Titanic lay undisturbed at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. In 1985, its wreck was discovered by Dr. Robert Ballard and his team. This discovery brought the story back into the public eye. Scientists and historians could now study the ship itself. Expeditions to the wreck have brought back images and artifacts.